Zelda and Kirby and DK, oh my! The Nintendo Direct for the Switch 2 happened today, and there's a lot to talk about. Hardware, games, upgrades, GameChat, and more on today's podcast. Also, we talk a bit about a little startup by the name of Dreamhaven and the 4 games they're blessing us with.
You know, it's crazy, all the stuff they're adding to the Switch 2, including an entire
Hi, I'm Josh, and our current administration is also going to use the GameChat for state secrets.
I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. Welcome back.
Hello.
Wait, we're not dead.
No. I mean,
We die a little. We die a little bit.
In the terms of the internet, we were very much dead. But
I would argue
We got better.
I would argue the world ended in 2012, and this has just been some kind of weird post-living dream.
Nah, homie, like a dinosaur story. We're back.
That's right. Well, hey, we have, oh my God, a lot of stuff happened in video game news in the last month, but just today, this morning, as of recording, which today is the 2nd of April, 2025, not an April Fool's joke.
They invented video games too.
Kind of. Switch 2 was shown. I mean, it wasn't announced. We knew this was coming.
It's coming. But a direct.
A Nintendo Direct. And boy, oh boy, there's quite a bit to talk about. On top of that, Mike Morhaime of Blizzard fame, the ex-president of Activision Blizzard, previously Blizzard.
Now Lesheim.
He went and made his own studio with Blackjack and Hookers, Dreamhaven. I've got some games from them as well to talk about. They were featured during some kind of weird show that the Game Awards had. And we'll talk about that briefly. But for now, let's focus on Nintendo, because they get very little love in this podcast. So let's shine a light on Nintendo.
Is that the light shining
emoji? Put my
Okay.
light in there.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nintendo Switch 2. Not only did we get hardware announcement, they went like granular with it, and they gave us lots and lots of games announcements. So, first, let's talk about the hardware itself. This is the first time I've ever heard things like HDR, FPS, and a bunch of numbers from Nintendo. That doesn't happen.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Well, I mean, arguably, that's the only thing that the Xbox and the PlayStation have above it, is graphics. So let's talk graphics for a second. This is going to be a full HD console, 120 FPS capable, HDR capable. It's got the dock like it had previously. It comes bundled with a little controller that you can slide your Joy-Cons into. Joy-Cons stay attached magnetically, I assume with neodymium magnets. They didn't go that far. They said strong magnets. So that's cool. You have no more risk of accidentally sliding in your Joy-Con the wrong way and ruining your Switch forever.
Yeah.
So that's good. The dock allows up to 4K play. Screen's larger, the thinness, it's still as thin as the original Switch. It's got a lot of cool functionality as well, including the fact that the Joy-Cons themselves are actually mice. We talked about this previously in another podcast where it was rumored that they were going to have mouse functionality, at least one of the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it's both. It's both. And there are games that are already using that technology. So dual mouse technology. And we'll get to that here shortly. The buttons are the same size, but the joysticks are bigger. So if you have large hands, it's a little bit better for you. It's also a larger console, so it's a little bit better for you. I had that problem. The original Switch was uncomfortable to play in mobile mode. For traveling and stuff, it was acceptable, but for like long sits at home, it just wasn't happening. That went up on the TV. No longer is that going to be a problem, seemingly, or it will be less of a problem. It also comes with improved speakers, built-in microphones with noise canceling, 3D sound in headphones, and a new stand. One of my biggest complaints about the original stand is it was a plastic piece of garbage, almost like an afterthought on the console. Now it's a full-fledged like size or width of the console style stand. It's a real thing. So you no longer have to worry about your Switch toppling if you look at it the wrong way. On top of that, they have 2 USB ports instead of just the one, fixing a lot of the ergonomics problems with peripherals and charging at the same time. You no longer have to necessarily use a hub to be using USB-C headphones and your charger or charging the device at the same time. So lots of cool stuff there. It's got 256 gigabytes of internal storage. That's up from 32 from the original Switch. So pretty significant difference there. It's needed specifically because file sizes, game sizes have gotten so enormously huge. On top of that, it allows you to expand on it just like the previous Switch. You are going to have to buy new memory cards, though. The memory cards they're using are specifically micro SD express cards required for the speed needed to hold the games on the Switch 2. The design of the carts, they're the same size. The Switch 2 are going to be colored red to differentiate them, but it is going to be backwards compatible with, and this is something that they said multiple times during the show, compatible Switch games. So it sounds like it's not going to be full backwards compatibility. It hasn't been elaborated on what compatible Switch titles means. So we'll see what that means going forward. So I wouldn't hold your breath that all of your Switch games are going to work on the Switch 2, but it does seem like all of them. And I imagine at least all of the native Nintendo games will work for sure. I have no doubts about that. They announced also a new Pro Controller. It comes with buttons on the underside, like a lot of Pro Controllers are starting to do. So they're giving you Pro Controller access, as well as a C button on the front, just between the bottom joysticks, which we'll talk about what that does here also shortly. It also comes with a new audio jack. I'm not sure what that means because it's not the original Switch, so I guess it's new inherently. But not sure what exactly that means. And it came with just an oodle of game announcements. But aside from game announcements and hardware, there's also software of the Switch to be talked about. We don't know a whole lot about the operating system. I would venture to say it's probably going to be similar to the operating system that it runs now on the Switch. But we are getting some pretty cool features. So on top of games and all of that, we have a new functionality called GameChat. It's Discord.
They essentially took Discord and put it on the Switch, which I honestly like. Xbox just did that a year and a half ago.
Sure, but not to the extent that Nintendo's doing it.
No, this looks like native Nintendo Discord.
This is first party Discord from Nintendo,
and it looks great.
Yeah, not only do you get to jump into a lobby with a bunch of your friends, but on top of that, you can share your gameplay. And everybody can be sharing gameplay at the same time. So while you're playing game on the largest portion of your screen, you can have up to four friends at the bottom of the screen sharing their screens with you as well. And that isn't only for playing the same game. Mm-hmm. They can be playing other titles on the Switch.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, so even functionality expanded upon Discord.
The real question is, though, is Nintendo ready for online gaming? like online gaming chat?
At the very least, which I'll elaborate on this additionally further. I know we're hearing a lot of that, but this has a lot of nuance. But it does seem Nintendo is embracing more of the online component finally, and in like a real way, not in subtle ways, but like they're grabbing onto IPTV, chat over IP. They've embraced it. So not only does it come with like a lot of the core features of something like Discord, it also comes with additional features over top of Discord. Generally speaking, you're not going to be watching multiple people playing different things. You can, but you're allowed to do that natively. Like if you can watch what your friends are playing. On top of that, they're going to be putting out an accessory. It's a webcam, effectively. There is a camera that you can plug in, so you can show your face, so you can stream like locally to your friends if you want to. And it has native green screen features, chroma features, but smarter than that, integrated into the webcam. So it will only show your face on an overlay of what you're playing if that's how you want to appear. So while not all of that is exciting, right? The full culmination of it is just it's clear. They're putting effort into something that isn't just their own IP in games, right? Yeah. So they're really paying attention, it looks like, to more than just base functionality and the gimmick of the product, and they're looking at features. And getting in parity with stuff that we've had for a while. So yeah, may not be that exciting, except for when you throw the Nintendo name at it. Finally, they're catching up.
Yeah, there's a gate in the walled garden.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see because the Switch has not. When you bring up console gaming, you think PlayStation and Xbox.
Sure.
It's very rare that you think Nintendo. They don't get games launched, third-party titles launched in parity with the other console manufacturers, right? They are like their own separate entity, a walled garden, so to speak. And they seem to be breaking that door open just a little bit, which is super nice to finally see. Because Nintendo used to be the Titans, right? Like, our parents used to call all gaming consoles Nintendos. Turn the Nintendo off. You were playing PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo was synonymous with gaming. And it looks like it might actually be a good living room device now, not just a mobile, partially docked, play it on the TV sometimes console.
Yeah, like it definitely seems like a full fat. Like it's like a full fat console now.
Yeah, and we'll showcase a couple of the games as well as we go through the games list. So if you're watching the video portion of our podcast, you can see that there's some real graphics in there. Like we're not seeing super dumbed down versions of Nintendo or of other console games on the Nintendo platform. We're seeing what looks like a pretty native experience. Maybe not one-to-one, but even if it's just like catered a little bit toward Nintendo, it still looks good and looks genuinely like the games that are on other platforms. So really cool there.
So far, my only complaint is that they have still just missed out on the naming convention of Super Switch. That's my biggest complaint right now.
Yeah.
Is that it should be called the Super Switch.
I came up with the Stooch, and that's still better than the Switch 2.
I mean, Switch 2 is whatever. It's fine. It's just boring. But Super Switch was right there.
Yeah.
They practically sold an entire console on the marketing gimmick of calling it Wii.
Yeah.
And they're going to call this the Switch 2? Really?
It is a little bit boring. I kind of get it. There's a difference between the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, right? Like in form factor, there's no backwards compatibility whatsoever.
It's a 500-year-old console.
Yeah, that's why it's the Super Switch.
I know they're missing an opportunity, but this is literally the Switch 2. It is the Switch, but better.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure.
You know?
I mean, and with that games list, you kind of mentioned it, but there is legit 46 third-party games that are coming. Like, it's a huge list.
Yeah, and a few first party, and then a few first party Switch games on exclusive to Switch. It gets complicated. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go ahead and start talking some of the games and some of the weird stuff that's going on. Some of the hinky things, right? So they did announce a few Nintendo games, which we will get to in the list. But for now, we'll feature Mario Kart because it's cool. Mario Kart is always fun, and for everybody. They announced Mario Kart World. It's an open world Mario Kart game.
Yeah,
So
I was
you
noticing
join
that.
races. It's pretty neat. A new take on Mario Kart, which it also seems to have some platforming elements, which is pretty neat. We've got that up on the show now if you're watching video. But yeah, I encourage you to go check out the full Nintendo Direct and or at least check out the Mario Kart trailer.
I mean, Mario Kart's, I agree, like 100% a beloved series. I remember playing it on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
So I am always excited for a new Mario Kart. But I don't know. So the thing, honestly, that surprised me most about the Switch was the Switch 2, rather, is that Nintendo's being the first one to really break that gaming convention with standard games being, this is going to be $80, probably $90 for a physical copy.
Now, it isn't confirmed. Yeah,
The best they've confirmed is probably $80.
Probably $80. Yeah, and that's still a rumor mill.
Sure.
I was reading that hadn't been confirmed as of today, but I wouldn't doubt it. And that does seem to be what's understood in the industry. So I think that's correct. I think it looks like the average game the average Switch 2 game is going to be $80.
I mean, Nintendo, I mean, besides being synonymous with family gaming, always had an air of affordability to it. Like Nintendo's have always, and it is still, sure. I mean, maybe back in the day, like, I mean, I know it's like a once a year kind of present or once every couple of years kind of present, but like, I mean, like we raved about the Switch debuted at what, $300, $399?
Yeah, $299. It was $300 on launch.
$300 on launch, and now the Switch, a lot of good stuff, but the Switch 2 launching at $450, and then the confirmed, well, not quite confirmed, but likely price increase of Switch games to $80. Like, I don't know, like it doesn't, that affordability doesn't feel like it. It's still, for the Switch 2, it's still less than getting into a console for like Xbox, you know, X or S or a PS5.
Now,
definitely.
I do want to be clear. Nintendo actually is not necessarily known for their affordability. People put together children and, you know, kiddie games as cheap. They're not. They've been full price forever.
Yeah.
Right. They've had some lower cost titles sometimes, but that's not the norm. They are traditionally up with the rest of them. They were, if I remember right, they were they were the first like platform to go like 70 across the board for their new games. So they've been kind of ahead of the curve of the rest of the industry as far as price goes, in its upward ascent. So
maybe in games, but I don't know. Their
hardware, sure, yeah, it's always been way more affordable. But they do publish the vast majority of the games that go on their console too. So they've been able to subsidize hardware with software a little bit, and they make genuinely less expensive hardware, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but Nintendo is at the very first thing really, really good at making money.
Well,
you want to play this with 4 friends? That's $320 you have to spend.
Yeah.
For you and 3 friends to play a game together,
plus consoles,
plus
right?
the console.
Yeah, plus hardware cost. So
yeah, it's about almost $2,000 for 4 of your friends to play Mario Kart World together.
Yeah. It's not going to be inexpensive for sure, but it looks like the hobby is just going that direction. Now we're PC gamers at our core, almost exclusively. We do play some other console titles on occasion. So we haven't been hit by that as hard as most console gamers.
Honestly, the Switch 2 is kind of luring me in a way that I just didn't feel like I kind of want one of these.
Well, this looks like it's a legitimate competitor against the other console or against the other consoles in the market. I kind of
want one of these. It seems like maybe it's just because I haven't played Nintendo games in legitimately 15 years, but it seems exciting. Like the mouse function of it, like, you can use a Joy-Con. I've always talked about, like, that's my ideal control scenario is I have like movement control over here and aim control on my mouse.
Nice.
And they're like, Nintendo is maybe giving me my ideal controller scenario. And it's like, that feels weird to say.
Yeah.
But that Nintendo of all things is giving me my ideal controller scenario. But
they didn't change the game versus the Switch, right? They just iterated really well on what was already essentially existing hardware, right? They upped the graphics pretty substantially. They upped the speed. They made it a little bit more comfortable. They gave it a few more features. They made the online component like a larger component of the overall story. So it's compelling. A lot of the problems that I have with the Switch, the original Switch, have been kind of fixed here.
But at its introductory price of $450, kind of like we batted around in the pre-show, which, you know, if you're listening now and not then, you're missing out a little bit. But like we batted around in the pre-show, at $450, you can get in, if you don't have anything, you can get in on a Steam Deck at $400. So it's actually, you're actually getting, I would think, I love the Switch 2. I think it's awesome at what it's doing.
No, yeah.
But I feel like the Steam Deck is, if you don't have anything and you're looking for something for gaming, the Steam Deck is a more versatile buy at a cheaper price point now at this rate. Whereas if that Switch is 400 or 350 and just a handheld version at, 200 or 250, that's a real thinking point now. It's like, I'm saving a little money and I'm still getting like that. They have expanded the title list, which is helpful for that price point.
Yeah.
Because they're now competing against, like, you could get a Rogali or like I said, a Steam Deck. So
you're trying to play devil's advocate, thinking like, okay, what does the Switch have over the Steam Deck? And having used the Steam Deck myself a little bit now, the only thing I can think of is that the Switch is going to work out of the box.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck it's a computer. You're
still
going
takes
to run into hardware and software troubles.
And it's Linux, right? So it's probably not the operating system that you are most familiar with.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be giving a Steam Deck to your grandma.
No, for sure.
You could probably give your grandma a Switch too, and she could figure out how to play games on it in a few minutes.
For us, it feels very much like the same market, but for average people, it's not.
Okay,
That's
maybe,
about the thing I could think of where it's like there's a clear difference there is that Nintendo consoles, it's very rare that you have to troubleshoot them. Right? They just work.
They're so easy to use that it's confusing to me sometimes. Like the UI elements that I'm used to being more complex, being simple, it feels less intuitive to me sometimes. Yeah. But you put that in the hands of kids, and they know exactly what to press, right? Yeah. So we're not necessarily the target audience. However, a lot of the things they're doing with the Switch 2, it kind of starts to float our boat a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I'm excited about, hardware-wise, as far as that goes. I think there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to the game. So let's go ahead and start that. Mm-hmm. So first, if you have a Switch, you probably have Breath of the Wild and or Tears of the Kingdom. Like, that's a pretty good assumption, I think. They are staple games. They're staple to the Nintendo brand. And you're probably wondering, well, they were talking about like compatible Switch games. Are they going to work? Yes. There's also another option. If you already own those games, you can get an upgrade pack. Upgrade packs are going to be available for existing Switch games that you'd like to play on Switch 2 and leverage the hardware a little bit better. So, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have upgrade packs available. You can upgrade your games to be full 1080 or 4K, depending on how you're playing your Switch. We don't know the price of the upgrade packs.
Per game?
This is per game. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know what price it is. I imagine it's going to be, now, this is what I think is reasonable price, $5. I think $10 is where where I draw the line for myself. Realistically, it's probably going to be $15 or $20. I mean, I have no doubt at all that it's going to be more expensive than I want, for sure. But they are giving you the option, and we were talking about this a little bit pre-podcast, right? And I use this example exactly. If you play the Xbox 360 version of Gears of War 2, on Xbox Series X, you cannot play that, right? Even if you bought it on Xbox One, just one console cycle ago, right? You might have picked it up late, but you enjoyed it, and now you want it to come over. If you were to launch that on your Xbox Series console, you would be getting the original version, 720p, lower frame rate, or you have the option of buying the remastered version, 4K, more polygons, etc. A lot of people buy games again to get their more polished version of it. This is the cheaper option of the two, so I think they're somewhere in between. Buy it again for the most recent version, or stick with the original and get a lesser experience than what you're kind of used to on the most modern console.
That is how Rockstar got me with Grand Theft Auto, like two different fucking times.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
So it's an upgrade path rather than purchasing it again.
That's nicer. That is because no one else is actually doing anything to make it cheaper. So that is nicer.
that's my thought on it. While I'm not super happy with this as the result, I think you should just be able to slap in, and there should be some kind of upscaling. I don't have to buy the game again on my Switch 2, right? Because if I sell my Switch 1 so I can buy my Switch 2, and now I can't play Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, that sucks. Versus this, where I could just use the upgrade path and have a blast all over again in 4K. I guess that is a reasonable compromise. That isn't the only game, or those aren't the only games though that are going to have that. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is also going to get one. Mario Party Jamboree is also going to get one, but it is going to come with additional content. So they are also treating this as an opportunity to introduce like DLC.
The Zelda games actually did have not additional content, but features.
Additional features on Switch 2, yes.
On Switch 2, like some Zelda Note stuff where you can use the maps. So like there was a couple of bells and whistles besides just upscaling.
For sure. Then there's also Metroid Prime 4 that's going to be launching simultaneously on the Switch and Switch 2. The Switch 2 edition includes mouse control.
That seems so cool.
Yeah.
That seems so cool.
Also comes with quality mode, 4K 60 FPS with HDR when docked, 1080p 60 FPS HDR in handheld, or you can choose performance mode and get 120 FPS at 1080p docked, or 720p both with HDR handheld form. So kind of cool. I mean, there is a separation of console power between the Switch and Switch 2 that's pretty obvious. So being able to leverage that, pretty neat. If you just purchase the Switch version of it initially, because you don't get into the Switch 2 right away, then you can get the upgrade pack later and not have to pay full price again for the game if you wish it on your Switch 2. Or if you buy the Switch 2, it's going to have all that content unlocked already. On top of that, Pokemon Legends ZA, this is probably the least exciting of all of them because it is just enhanced visuals and increased FPS on the Switch 2. So if you go the upgrade pack route on that, then you're just kind of getting an already ugly game, just slightly uglier, but not really, sort of, kind of, because Pokemon games do not look good and never have. All right, let's jump into, like, for real this time, the games. So this is maybe the largest list of first year games that I've ever seen. This is coming out smack dab in the middle of the year, June 5th. Which Josh, I don't know why he didn't say it. It's his birthday.
Oh, it's my birthday. Yes, that is my birthday.
To Josh.
Yeah.
Switch 2 days, Josh's birthday. And almost all of these games are going to be coming out this year. So almost all of them in 2025. And like half of this list are launch titles. There's, what did you say earlier? 46?
46?
Yeah, 46 first day titles.
And like I think 17 of them are day one titles.
Yeah, that's a ton. Like, consoles don't usually launch with more than a handful. I'd say like 20 is a really good launch for a console. 46 launch date. That's bananas. So let's get into them real quick. I'm going to have a couple things to say about a few of them, but for the most part, it's just a comprehensive list. So, starting off with Mario Kart World, which we just talked about. Drag X Drive, which is an interesting one. It is essentially wheelchair basketball, but you use
the concept.
You use the mice as, like, you wheel yourself with the mice, which is pretty neat. Yeah, I think that's a clever demonstration of the possibilities with the mouse controls. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is coming out for the Switch 2. So Elden Ring is going to be out day one for Switch 2. Hades 2 is coming out for Switch 2. Street Fighter 6 coming out for Switch 2. And you'll notice quite a few titles that were used to being on other consoles, sometimes exclusive, are coming to the Switch 2, if not on launch this year. Then there's
Civ 7.
Civ 7. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
What?
Why not?
Why not?
It's got touchscreen, and they kind of built the game in a more rudimentary fashion for things like tablet modes and stuff. So why not? I mean, listen, if you ever played StarCraft on the Nintendo 64 or Diablo on the PlayStation, there were people that loved those games.
Yeah, it's because they didn't know any better.
True. But if that's your only way to experience it, I guess, equality and
You do you,
stuff.
boo.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk?
Yeah, stop skipping ahead.
I'm excited.
I had these in a cool list.
Okay.
Then we've got Damon Ex Machina, Split Fiction, EA Sports FC, Madden NFL, Hogwarts Legacy. Now, Josh, you said that that's already on the Switch. I wasn't aware of that before the podcast.
I'm like 95% sure that's already on the Switch right now.
Interesting. So I didn't know that it was on the Switch. If this is the case, then it's coming out for the Switch 2 and probably closer to native resolutions and stuff like that. Then on top of that, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, brand new releases. Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition. Project 007, which is something that, like, I feel I should remember something about it. Like, I feel like I've heard of this project before, but I don't remember specifically. So I don't know if this is like something that it was just got announced today along with the Switch 2, or if this has been a long time coming. But some kind of James Bond game coming for the Switch 2. Then there's Bravely Default, which they've done a remaster for the Switch 2. That's not a new game, but it will be new for Switch 2 in its remastered edition. There's Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. Then there is a new game, which we were just showing the trailer for. That is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It's been a long time coming since we got a Hyrule Warriors game. The last one that came out was on the GameCube, which is another thing that I'll get to in just a little bit here. But Hyrule Warriors game, so it's like a Dynasty Warriors game, but you play as Princess Zelda and the denizens of Hyrule. It looks cool. It's supposed to take place. It's the war with Ganon that took place before Breath of the Wild canonically. That's neat.
I like that.
Yeah, you get to see the fall, you get to participate in the fall of Hyrule before the events of Breath of the Wild. So that's neat. Then, to a lot of people's surprise, Deltarune, which has 2 chapters currently, is getting chapters 3 and 4, which will be appearing on the Switch 2. That's exciting for a lot of people, and myself included.
Some big fans of that game.
Yeah.
That Undertale.
Oh, it's got a massive cult following. Speaking of Randy Pitchford, just kidding. Borderlands 4 is going to be coming and plays natively on the Switch 2.
Okay.
So brand new flagship from Gearbox coming out on the Switch 2. That's kind of the theme here, is like we are starting to get the premier AAA big name titles that haven't been touching Nintendo in years, just because they have to make another game, like a different game for their hardware. It seems like they don't have to anymore. So we're starting to get all these ports coming over, which is dope. Then there is Civ 7, which we talked about briefly. WW2K, NBA 2K, sorry. Survival Kids. Then there's Enter the Gungeon 2.
Yeah,
That's
exciting.
Exciting and surprising. There's Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions, which takes place in the Astroneer world, which we've talked about.
Like an almost MMO. It was hard to tell how many players.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 4, but yeah, very much more adventure, mission, quest-based stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be more information to come because I'm pretty sure that was announced today with the Nintendo Direct. So we will be taking a look at that. Then, as mentioned earlier, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition is also coming, which they showed a little bit of gameplay of, and I don't know how well it scales in 4K on a big TV, but it looks like on the native hardware handheld mode, it runs super smooth and it looks fantastic because 1080p is more than enough for a 7.2-inch screen. That's about as crisp as it gets. So it looks fantastic. Then, close to my heart, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is. When's the last time we got like a actual Final Fantasy on Nintendo hardware?
Yeah,
there's been bad blood there for a long time. And while they've had offshoots of the Final Fantasy brand on Nintendo hardware, and they've been putting their back catalog on Nintendo Switch Online recently, this is the big title. This is Square Enix's baby right now that's going on Nintendo hardware. That's big news. Plus, I get to take Remake with me on the go. Sick. Then there's Kinitsugami, Path of the Goddess. Hollow Knight Silksong got shown a little bit today. It's footage
Real
that's
release date.
been seen. Unfortunately, as they didn't give a release date that just said 2025.
That's real enough.
I know. That does better solidify that we should be seeing Silksong this year. Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar. Story of Seasons, I don't know if you guys are aware, it kind of took over Harvest Moon.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the Harvest Moon. It's the modern Harvest Moon on Nintendo hardware. Then we've got Good Night Universe, 2 Point Museum, Wild Hearts S, which Wild Hearts I didn't even know was still going. Then there's Witchbrook, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, Star Wars Outlaws, Nobunaga's Ambitions, Awakening Complete Edition,
Okay.
Fast Fusion, yes, Shadow Labyrinth, Dayu Remastered, The Mysteries of the Soulless Army, No Sleep for Kaname Date, or Date, I assume, From AI, The Somnium Files.
That's the best title ever.
That is not 3 games. That is 1 game. It's got 2 subtitles. It is No Sleep for Kaname Date, From AI, The Somnium Files.
No notes.
Reanimal,
Game.
that weird sheep chasing you nightmare claymation looking game.
Oh yeah.
That's coming out on Switch too. Fortnite.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Of course.
It's the floss boss, baby. You can do it now, finally.
It's finally on Nintendo. Which actually I think it did come to Switch at some point. It did come to Switch, but it looks better. It doesn't look like it does on Switch. There's Arcade Archives 2, Ridge Racer, Professor Layton and the World of Steam, and I promise we're almost done. Tamagotchi Plaza, Human Fall Flat 2, Kirby Air Riders, and Donkey Kong Bonanza, which Donkey, of course, is going hard about. There's also one more. There is going to be an exclusive From Software game on the Nintendo Switch 2. Exclusive to the Switch 2. That's big news, especially from FromSoft, who traditionally stays away.
Mm-hmm.
We're not only getting Elden Ring, the biggest edition, but they're an exclusive title from FromSoft on Switch 2. I think the gaming industry as a whole is taking Nintendo very seriously this time around. It's clear that Nintendo has made a concerted effort to have third-party developers on their hardware this time around.
Yeah.
And they're clearly being much more welcome to the walled garden than they have been in recent years.
Probably saw what was going on with Sony and is like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't think we want to be this.
I know. Sony is doing the reverse. They're like, let's wall this garden off. Nintendo seems to be opening the doors up a little bit, which is interesting. 2025 is going to be a weird year.
No kidding.
I promise there's more to talk about. I have so many notes here. Oh, yeah. Nintendo Online is getting a new expansion pack. The Nintendo GameCube is going to be on the Switch too.
Awesome.
So just like there is already the NES, the SNES, the Game Boy Advance, which includes Game Boy titles, the Nintendo 64 and the Sega Genesis on expansion pack. The GameCube is going to be bundled with the Nintendo 64 expansion pack and is going to be launching with The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, which is getting a full makeover. It's going to be 1080 and 4K compatible. It looks great based on the footage that I've seen from Nintendo Direct. We're also getting Soul Calibur 2. That's the one with Link. And then we're also getting F-Zero GX. Now, this one's interesting in particular because it is an emulated version of F-Zero GX, which came out on the GameCube, that also features online play for the first time. So they are taking a game and adding online play to something that didn't have it natively previously, which
that's cool.
That's cool, man. I mean,
test.
that does legitimize the subscription cost of the service just a little bit more in my eyes, that you're giving features to games that we haven't seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
F-Zero GX wasn't necessarily everybody's favorite because I mean, let's be real here. F-Zero changed the game, and F-Zero GX just kind of sat on its laurels. That said, it was still a beloved game, enjoyed by many, and it's getting new features, including online play. On top of that, they're going to be re-releasing the GameCube controller. It's going to be wireless. It's going, awesome. Of course.
It's awesome.
Specifically for use on the Switch 2. It is also going to be coming with the C button, so it's compatible with GameChat. The C button is what launches GameChat. Okay. So yeah, man, there's a lot to talk about. We didn't hit all of it, but those are the biggest points from today's Nintendo Direct. Do you guys have any thoughts additionally on everything we talked about?
It's a lot. It's a good showing. I mean, knowing that they're coming out $400 versus Steam Deck and
$449 or $500 in a game bundle.
$450, $500 plus expensive first-party titles. It's good that they're providing all this other stuff and all these other features and attempts at new things. Because that's a big ask right now. Yeah,
the nice thing is to see that they're doing something different. I mean, all they're really doing is letting people in, but it's nice to see that from Nintendo. That is something that we haven't seen from Nintendo in a long time. Like, all of everybody's favorite games used to be on Nintendo. The PlayStation, the newcomer, was like, it changed things. Yeah. But honestly, I think one of the only reasons it did as well as it did is because they were able to launch a year before the Nintendo 64 came out. Because Nintendo was dominant at the time. I mean, think of all of the other consoles that were out at the time. You probably can't. Yeah. There were many consoles out at the same time as the NES, the SNES, the N64. None of them are still around.
Had that switch from 2D to 3D, especially.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Be the first one to do that.
You know, we still make jokes about the links, you know, and that was Nintendo 64 era. Yeah. So it's good to see Nintendo back in some kind of fashion that isn't just another Mario Party, another Zelda, and that's essentially what drives their platform. To see that they're just embracing third-party developers and publishers again, I'm really excited about. I think the hardware is exciting. I can't wait to get it in my hands and see how it does practically and in real life.
Well, thank you for putting all that together.
Yeah, hey, absolutely my pleasure. To be honest, man, I sat down today for the Nintendo Direct, and I just didn't expect that much. I expect Switch 2.
Sometimes they're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
I expected a few launch titles. It was going to be we never get Zelda as a launch title, right? So I wasn't expecting Zelda. I was expecting probably a Mario offshoot, maybe two. Something maybe in the Donkey Kong universe, and like 5 other games plus a slew of JRPGs.
I mean, new Metroid and new Mario Kart, like right off the bat, that's pretty hefty. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah, and just to see that they're embracing technology too. I mean, I've never seen terms like HDR and FPS in their speeches before, and they focused on that for a considerable amount of time during the press coverage today. So really cool, really cool. All right, I want to move on to Dreamhaven. I am excited to see. I'd like to see if Mike Morhaime, the ex-president of Blizzard, is still if he's still got it, or if he was in the Activision Blizzard camp too long and he's just gotten too corporate. They've purchased 2 developers, so they're considered first party now. They've also partnered to publish for 2 other developers. We'll get into that in a second. But they showed up. They had a games showcase just last week with Jeff Keighley of Game Awards fame and G4 fame. You know who he is. He sat down and interviewed Mike Morhaime and talked about and showcased some of the games that they've got coming out. The first one I'd like to talk about. This kind of got a lot of flack, which I find interesting because I think in our group, and I feel like in friend groups, this could be a cool app. So Sunderfolk, let me get to my notes here, is a turn-based tactical RPG adventure for 1 to 4 players that's deeply tailored for a deeply engaging couch co-op experience. Scanning a QR code on your TV or monitor will take you to the free Thunderfolk phone app on both iOS and Android, which will transform your phone or tablet into a controller, hand of cards, rule book, inventory, and more. So it's like an ARPG with ARG elements, right?
Okay.
You use your phone as your controller to make your choices on the board. It's hex-based, turn-based combat. There is a card draw mechanic system for your abilities. I think this brings a lot of elements together that we've seen before, and even all together in other games before, but sits you down with your friends in couch co-op and levels the playing field. You do not have to buy a whole bunch of hardware. You do not have to have 4 controllers available.
Being able to use your phone as a controller.
Yeah.
That we could have been doing this a long time ago.
It's Jackbox for tabletop nerds.
Yeah.
Which, dude, why haven't we seen this before? Like, it may exist, but never by. I've never seen anything like this. You know, it's bringing a lot of things together that when you see it is like, oh, of course. Why hasn't this already been a thing? Like, not only do you have couch co-op potential, but think about streamer potential. You could be streaming the core game for everybody. Get the 3 first people that get to scan their QR code get to play with you, right? So this has great potential to bring people together, be a fun party game experience while being semi-serious TTRPG. I think it's super cool.
It's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I think it is. We have yet to see the implementation. It might suck, but
Well, I was
the
going to
idea
say
is
now,
there.
Now this is a really solid idea, and if it's as simple as like in Jackbox, one person spends $10 and gets the campaign, and like you can have 4 people play on that using just their phones. If you've bought the campaign, then that's cool.
It is.
Now, if everybody has to spend $10 to get in there, then it's still fine, but it's less cool.
Nope. Scanning a QR code on your TV/monitor will take you to a free Thunderfolk phone app.
The game itself is probably going to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
$60,
Like,
$70,
no, someone like,
but-
I mean, they're making something. They should get paid. They're making something. I get that. I'd like to, like, my worry is again, just an implementation. Like, there's going to, like, where the paywall's going to be, where's the, because they got to make money. And as long as,
there's potential for DLC galore.
sure.
Right?
And as long as
like
they're
new
upfront,
campaigns,
like,
etc., new
this
characters.
is $10 for the game. You and 3 friends, any 3 friends, multiple times, buy the game.
I'm sure it will have monetization options on top of the original purchase.
Sure,
I have no
absolutely.
no doubt about that. That's the world we live in now. It's as unfortunate as it is. That is the world we live in. So they have additional means to monetize. So what you're expecting of them, I do too. Like, I kind of tend to think the worst in those regards.
But don't make me buy every single fucking character. Right. Don't make me buy every single outfit. Don't make me buy every single like thing to have fun playing the game.
Yeah.
Like,
it seems like at least the base game, you buy the game, you get 4 friends together who all have phones, you scan the QR code and you go.
And I feel like that's the first hit's free, you know?
Sure. And it probably is. But also, if it's good, it's like D&D, there are other campaign modules that you have to buy. There are other books that you have to buy. So
there's plenty of room for revenue if
And I think if it's that style monetization, that is the lesser of all evils. Right?
Absolutely. I mean,
as long as you're getting good content for it, you know. In Thunderfolk, players take on the role of unique animal characters living in an underground village illuminated by the bright shard. However, darkness threatens their home, and they must band together to fight the looming shadows of the Sunlands. Gameplay involves assembling a party, solving puzzles, and battling monsters in dark caverns. Between missions, players return to their village to enhance their abilities, customize their builds, and build relationships with the townsfolk. The game emphasizes teamwork, strategy, and progression as players carve their own path through the adventure. The first 8 characters, or the only announced 8 characters that we have so far, is the Arcanist, who manipulates the board using arcane magic, the Bard, who offers support magic for your team, the Berserker, who is the bulky tank that leads the charge, the Pyromancer uses fire magic to burn the field, The Ranger, which is a ranged fighter that weakens enemies. The Rogue, the melee fighter, deals a lot of physical damage and avoids taking it themselves using status effects to party's advantage. But yeah, it's couch co-op. Mobile devices control the characters. Bing, bang, boom.
Seems cool.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it for the idea. To me, it seems like we should have had something like this a long time ago.
It kind of feels weird that there's not something in this space already, actually, but yeah.
But hopefully this breeds more. Like that, even if this game is bad, I'm hoping that we see more of this. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like playing D&D with a pre-made adventure.
Yeah, honestly, like you said, Jackbox for D&D sounds like that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah. Then the next one on the sorry, that's going to be available on PC, Xbox Series, PS5, and the Switch sometime in 2025. The next one is kind of the honey of the show. This one is called Wildgate.
I actually watched about 2 hours of this game.
Yeah, and it looks pretty.
People playing the closed beta.
Looks pretty interesting.
It's Sea of Thieves in space.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, it's got its own feel and vibe, but it is very much Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, the interesting thing is a lot of people are saying Sea of Thieves meets Left 4 Dead in space, and I don't see a lot of the Left 4 Dead element there.
There's no Left 4 Dead.
No, I don't see that either, but that's, for some reason, that's how it's being described by a lot of these outlets. But Wildgate is a PvP multiplayer shooter that blends tactical ship-to-ship combat with fast-paced first-person action. Evade deadly environmental hazards, search for powerful weapons and ship upgrades, and be the first crew to escape with the artifact or the last crew left flying. Cool. So there are multiple ways to beat the game. You can collect the artifact and extract, or you can
kill all the other ships.
So cool. If you're really super hyper focused on PvP, go hard PvP, kill everybody. If you're less inclined to do the PvP, which you're gonna have to do. I mean, let's be. This is a PvP focused game, but you can definitely kind of evade the combat as much as possible. Maybe go a little bit under the radar and try and steal that artifact while others are going at it. Right. So kind of a cool premise. The game takes place in the Reach, a vast and dangerous realm filled with discovery, explosions, and high stake battles. Players must assemble a strong crew, upgrade their ship, and scavenge for loot while navigating perilous space encounters. Combat is chaotic and dynamic, encouraging improvisation. Players can use turrets, steal enemy equipment, set traps, overload reactors, and deploy tractor beams. Other crews pose a constant threat, aiming to steal resources and block progress. The ultimate goal is to reach a gate while surviving intense skirmishes and environmental hazards. The map that you play on is procedurally generated. And there's a playtest coming soon. It's going to be playtest is April 10th of this year. Full game is going to be available on PC, Xbox, and PS5. That's Xbox Series. Not sure on the release date yet. But being that there's a playtest coming up soon, I imagine it's probably by the end of this year, maybe at the latest. Sounds like early next year. So excellent.
Yeah.
Next one up on the docket is called Linked, Banner of the Spark. Build a bright new world alongside a band of rescued robot buddies. In this colorful action RPG, battle waves of enemies in solo or co-op, then return home and use their parts to craft a thriving town.
Oh.
Assemble your crew and grow stronger with each new adventure. Kind of looks a little cozy, doesn't it?
A little bit.
It's the year 30XX, and the natural world has been overrun by an evil robot force. But all is not lost. As you rescue and join forces with a charming band of robot companions called the Unibots, you'll form a community of fearless friends and work together to build a new future from the ground up. High-energy hack-and-slash action. Fight through roguelite inspired missions against the combat threat. Get the edge on enemies with mid-run upgrades or discover a new weapon to swap in between. As you progress, unlock a deep arsenal of weapons, upgrades, and abilities with different classes that fit your playstyle. Build, gather, and craft to get stronger. You build your town by completing runs and enlisting the help of robot allies. In-town systems such as gathering, fishing, and farming provides resources to upgrade weapons, powers, and more. Play combat missions with up to 4 of your friends, where you can take on specialized fighting roles to complement the team as you complete challenging missions and boss battles. This one's going to be available May 22nd, 2025 for PC, Xbox Series, and PS5.
Okay.
Then we've got one more. We've
One
got
more.
Mechabellum.
don't know
Mechabellum
Mechabellum.
That's Mech Warfare.
has been out for a little while now, since like September.
A
Ooh.
good amount of it.
Yeah, seems like a solid game. So you have played, or you've seen
I've
a lot.
watched a good amount of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Competitive matches and whatnot.
So it's been out since I believe September of 2024. But the most notable thing here is they were talking about it during the interview. This was published, not made by Dreamhaven. Mechabellum is a rewarding tactical war game where you gain victory by adapting your strategy and outthinking your opponents. Command a mechanized army in battles against humans or AI. Customize your units and strategically place them on the battlefield to watch them destroy your enemies. It's infinitely replayable, turn-based tactical auto battler in which you gain victory by adapting your strategy and outthinking your opponents. Select, customize, and deploy a variety.
Cool.
What's that?
Said that looks cool.
Yeah, it looks totally cool. Of powerful mechs in a futuristic battlefield face off and watch as they wreak havoc, weaponized havoc. That one right now, so it's obviously available now. It came out last year, but right now, up until April 8th, it's going to be 20% off. So if you're into it,
Very
$12.
nice.
Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, it's it's built on the bones of an auto battler.
Yeah.
Your input is choosing. When you go into a match, you think of like a chess match, except you get to choose what pieces you're bringing into the match, right? Which units are you bringing? And then when you get in there, you have so much room to put your units in. And you think about, okay, where are the enemy units going to be? Where can I put my units so that when they go off and do their own thing, they'll be effective? So yeah, it's taking that kind of DNA from auto battlers.
Yeah.
And they've done it really well.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. I was a little bit confused at first because I hadn't seen the game, or if I had, I forgot about it.
Plus, there's games like Mecha Break and Mecha this and Mecha that.
Right.
And there's a lot of Mecha-esque games that have been coming out in the last few years.
I was thinking about it. I think if I had learned about it previously, I'd remember because it looks like an RTS with that isometric view that it's got.
It does.
It straight up looks like an RTS. Like if you're watching footage of it and you have no other context,
Yeah, you think
it's
an
RTS,
yeah.
right? But finding out that it wasn't and it was more of an auto battler, I was like, okay, because auto battler is something that I have just kind of started getting into. It hasn't been my genre, but after having played a few auto battlers during the last Steam Next Fest, it's kind of it's growing on me.
Have you
for
seen
sure.
the Bazaar?
I don't think so.
It's a pretty big one. I'll
Yeah?
show it to you later.
Yeah, I'll take a look for sure. During last Next Fest, I played a semi-auto battler. It was like a kind of auto battler,
Was
but
it
there
the mech
was
themed one too?
yeah, but there were RPG elements outside of the battles, which
right.
was really cool. Really appreciated that game. Sleeper hit. I think it was just Josh and I on that podcast.
Oh, what was that game called? But it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll find it here in a second. But something that I recommend people look into because I think that one. No, that one. Oh, we haven't had a podcast since that one, have we? I wanted to issue a retraction. That game is not coming out on the Switch. That was IGN saying that, and they are, well, at least I cannot find any other source for that being on the Switch. So, because I looked back at that and I was like, that actually, I would buy that for my Switch. Like, that would be my killer
A fun
app.
travel game. Yeah, because you were talking about like the game timing being just perfect. I remember that.
Yeah, that would have been the killer app for my Switch. Like nothing else had really captured me, but that game, man, I ended up playing just a crazy amount of it. Nitrogen Omega.
Yep.
It ended up being the highlight of my Steam Next Fest, and I talked about it at length, ad nauseum, and even made a special video for it for the podcast. And yeah, man, I had a blast playing that. Like surprising. It didn't grab me right away. But within 20 minutes, kind of getting the swing of things, I was in. I was in like Flynn. I completed all of the content that was available to me in that demo by the time Next Fest was over. So really cool. But yeah, mechs, auto battlers. It's a good time to be a gamer right now. Like there's bad stuff happening in the gaming space.
Yeah.
Clearly. And a lot of weird stuff too.
Weird things.
And it's getting ever increasingly expensive. But also there's a bunch of really fucking good games out there for like $15 to $30 that are just so fucking good. But please, if you would, Nitrogen Omega, come out on the Switch or mobile. That'd be. I don't play games on my phone, but I would play the shit out of that on my phone. Anyways, we're not here to talk about Nitrogen Omega. Guys, that was 4 games from Dreamhaven, like 100,000 games from Switch 2, new hardware and everything. What a way to kick off coming back to the podcast.
Yeah, that's a hell of a return, you know?
Yeah, so all of you guys, also, thank you so much. We have gotten so many new subscribers, so many more people watching our videos. The watch time is crazy, you guys. You guys are logging tens of thousands of hours of watching our podcast lately.
I don't even spend that much time watching me.
Yeah.
I'm me. I have to live it.
Yeah. But
thank you.
Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Much love. The audio podcast is growing too. Like we went away for that. Like the watch time on YouTube has gone down a little bit while we've been on hiatus, but the listening time and the amount of listeners has gone up on the audio podcast.
We had to give them room to miss us.
Yeah, I guess.
We had to give y'all room to miss us. We get it.
You're right. When you're right, you're right.